Welcome back, Truth Seeker. July 22nd, 2019. A lot of interesting headlines today. Want to go over some of those. The latest is the death of Kraft, NASA's first flight director. And he's died today, July 22nd. One day after the anniversary of the first man walking on the moon, which was July 21st, 1969. Of course, July 20th is the day that they landed the supposed lunar lander, but then July 21st, the day Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon. So right after this anniversary, the death of one of NASA's original employees, and he's died at age 95. And if you've read my book, there's a relationship between the number 95 and 666 through the Jesuit order. But in light of 666, again, NASA stands for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which equals 666. If you write out 666, it equals 95. So on this special anniversary, you get the death of this employee at age 95, and nobody will question the death of a 95-year-old, even as close to the anniversary as it is. But here's the other piece that stands out. From his birthday, gotta love his name too, Christopher Columbus Kraft Jr. But from his February 28th birthday to his death today, July 22nd, it's 144 days later. And for years, we've taught about the relationship with 144 and 666. If you take the first 144 decimal points of pi is 3.14, ... the decimal point. So if you had 1 plus 4 plus the next 142 decimal points that come after, again, the first 144 sums to 666. And here he's died 144 days after his birthday. And with regards to this relationship with pi, again, the mathematical shorthand for pi is to divide 22 by 7. If you divide 22 by 7, you get the approximation of pi, 3.14, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's died July 22nd, a date that's written 22/7, like 22 divided by 7. And notice when you write out 22 divided by 7, using the alphabetic order, sums to 314, not too far off from 3.14. And if you write out 360, like the degrees in a circle, pi has everything to do with cycles and circles and measurements. If you write out 360, it sums to 227. So how perfect is this? And again, you know, there's a guy out there who calls himself Marty Leeds. He's dedicated a few of his podcasts this past week to attacking me and saying everything I teach is false and fraudulent. But obviously he's the fraud. For years, he's talked about me, refuses to debate me. You know, the things I've taught about for years, they just prove themselves truer and truer each day. These are all things I wrote about in my book. And here it's all in one clear example, connecting back to NASA, the 666 agency. So Marty Leeds, if you're out there, either debate me or shut up, period. End of discussion. By the way, the name Chris Kraft sums to 113 like Scottish. NASA was established on a date with 113 numerology. Just put out a video on my main channel, which is now suspended, Gematria Effect News. YouTube had to suspend it on my birthday. Wasn't that nice of them? For no reason. But the last video I put out before they suspended me was on the very Scottish rite ritual that was the moon landing. So be sure to check out that video. We'll talk about India's moon mission today as well in just a moment, and what a Scottish rite ritual it is. But let's talk about another death in the headlines. Art Neville of the Neville brothers. Most famous brother is Aaron Neville, has the song Tell It Like It Is. I like that song a lot. But anyhow, his brother is dead today. And what's sick about this is, notice the Neville brothers were established in 1977. That was 42 years ago. The number stamped all over Black history. And of course, brothers equals 42. In case you're new here, you should really read my book, 18th chapter, about how the number 42 has been coded all over Black history. The name Jackie's 42, of course. Everyone thinks Jackie Robinson, number 42. Don't forget last year, 2018, on his birthday, there were the death of 3 Black celebrities. All three of their names sum to 42, and the same cipher brothers sums to 42. Oscar Gamble, Rajuel Butler, and LaTanya Lemon, all dead on Jackie Robinson's birthday. All of their names sum to 42. Oscar Gamble, the black baseball player, even died 42 days after his own birthday on Jackie's birthday. But with regards to the brother that's dead, notice his name's Art. When you flip the alphabetic order around, Art sums to 42. And adding insult to injury, from his birthday to his death, 218 days, 218, death, 218. The English extended cipher pays tribute to Hebrew Gematria. And couldn't help but notice his full name in the most pure cipher, the alphabetic order with the rules numerology, sums to 86. Neville brothers, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, numerology is 86, like blood sacrifice. That last name has overlap in the base 4 ciphers with murder. Died in New Orleans, too. We've seen several New Orleans-related deaths in recent weeks. Musicians, museum owners, and New Orleans, they should be having a pretty good football season. A lot of times these suspicious deaths are, a web of deceit connected to the world of entertainment and sports. He's dead 1 month and 18 days before the Saints' first game. Art Neville also 118 like death, like homicide. And notice no cause of death was provided. Go figure. No, he was 81, what we call the ritual number. So Robert Mueller, he's going to do his testimony this Wednesday. Covered a lot about the whole Robert Mueller process by the numbers. Don't ever forget this guy became the head of the FBI September 4th, 2001, 1 week before 9/11. And look at this right here. They make a point about how Robert Mueller has a 448-page report that he has to stick to when he gives his testimony. Look at the base ciphers here, the alphabetic order with the rules numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with the rules numerology. 448, 187, 227 connects to ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which etched on the house of the temple. The name Robert Mueller's 187, Investigations 187, Washington, D.C.'s 187, George Washington's 187. Don't forget Trump had his GOP convention start July 18th, 18/7, a span of 187 days from Inauguration Day. Don't forget the last Republican president was George W. Bush, born July 6th, the 187th day of the year. And this number is showing up again and again throughout the Mueller investigation. But again, all three of these numbers connect to ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And this news, the latest news, comes July 22nd, 22/7. So again, that Marty Leeds tool, he put out a video on how there's no such thing as the 4 base ciphers and all 4 of these ciphers are false. The guy's a complete loser. Every single day you can see how relevant these ciphers are. A moron like Marty would say this is just a coincidence. You don't want to be a moron like Marty. Let's be clear about that. And from the day that Mueller last spoke, May 29th, to the day he's going to speak again, July 24th, span of 57 days. Scottish Rite 57. Don't forget George Washington, the Scottish Rite Freemason, the city's named after, was inaugurated at age 57. Again, Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. A lot of influence in this nation. Here's another good one. Did you see the federal government today agreed to a $1.37 trillion budget? 1.37, huh? Washington, D.C. with the alphabetic order, 137. When you flip it around, that's when it's 187. Government is 137. Mind control is 137. That's what government means, to govern the mind, to control the mind, mind control. Don't forget, Kabbalah in Hebrew sums to 137, where this practice of coding numbers into words comes from. This is the God code. These people are playing God over the masses doing this. Today, July 22nd, 2019 is also a date with 23 numerology. Budget's 23, debt's 23. Part of the deal is they got rid of the debt ceiling so they can just keep piling it up. And you know what they did with this budget? They cut more for people in need and boosted the spending for the military, just like they do with every budget. You know, the nation that already spends more on its military than the rest of the world combined needs even more. Even more. Like, we all got to stop paying our taxes. Stuff is sick. But at the same time, you also see just how fake and contrived it is, you know. You can't account for this much money. So you might as well just make up the numbers you're reporting, like 1.37. Here's another good one. Don't forget, Iran is part of the New World Order. So many people think it's one of the unconquered territories. Wrong. It was conquered a long time ago. We overthrew this nation, you know, more than a half century ago. It's one of the nations that came out of the world wars. Iran's another puppet state. And today's headline, Iran arrests 17 citizens for being CIA spies. Of course, we're just trying to build up this, you know, New World Order narrative, the tensions, contrive another war, et cetera, et cetera. But look at this. Today's date numerology, 23 and 68. CIA, 6823. Spies, 6823. See what it is? 17 CIA spies. I wonder how they came up with this story today. You know, moron Marty would say, oh, that's just another coincidence. You know, all 25,000 documentations you've done the last 6 years, they're just all a bunch of coincidences. You should really listen when Marty the moron speaks to hear how dumb he sounds. Oh, my goodness. You got to be one moron to dismiss what I prove every single day. One sad moron at that. And this story right here, this story is just a joke. So this young man reportedly disappeared November 28, 2009. And the news comes today that his body's been found behind a cooler. And apparently it's been preserved all this time, not making any stink in the store. Guess it was just so cool back there that there was no decay. But notice the day that he disappeared had numerology, just like today. Identical numerology. The day he disappeared, the day he's found. And his last name is Murillo Moncada, which equals 227. And this is today's news, July 22nd, 22/7. So November 28th is the day that leaves 33 days left in the year. We're always talking about how they pair the numbers 33 and 74 together. And this happened in Council Bluffs, Iowa, which equals 74. So how nice. Always those numbers. Just like how out of the 50 states, only the 33rd state sums to 74. That happens to be Oregon. The young man's first name was Larry. Larry 74, like a cult, like killing, like Gematria, like English, like Masonic. Don't forget Masonry, Secrecy Order, Police. They're all 33. The supermarket that his body's just been chilling in for nearly a decade, reportedly, is called No Frills, which equals 48, like Freemason. The day he disappeared and today also have lesser date numerology of 48. Day, month, and the second part of the year. But let me read what they're saying about this. Just, you know, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever read, but just listen. Investigators now believe that Murillo Moncada went to the supermarket and climbed on top of the coolers. The space was used as storage for merchandise, Wedham said, and employees would sometimes go there to hide when they wanted to take an unofficial break. I mean, is this real? Is there really any grocery store in the world where people are trying to take an extra break and they're crawling up on top of the coolers? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, he is thought to have fallen into the 18-inch gap between the back of the cooler and a wall, where he became trapped. Noise from the cooler's compressors may have concealed any attempts to call for help, according to Webb. Just imagine that. Imagine that being stuck. And we all know how like a fridge, a cooler hums. It does make some noise. But if you're stuck and you're screaming for help, really, no one's going to hear that in the store? Just the refrigerator cooler's just too loud? I mean, come on. An autopsy found no signs of trauma, and the case has been deemed an accidental death. And not to mention, again, he's supposedly been just chilling back there, wedged in this spot for 10 years. I mean, imagine how bad it would stink. So, unbelievable stuff. Also today, on this date was 68 numerology, covered the 68 date numerology. They're saying today they found a submarine that's been missing since 1968. Can you believe it? It disappeared January 27, 1968, date with 115 numerology, France 115, like Masonic, like killing. It was a French sub. And I'm sure there's a whole lot more to it, but I'd already seen enough. I'd already seen so many 68 headlines today. I said, oh, you got to be kidding me. So also today, Indian moon mission 22/7. Again, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry controls the world of space exploration throughout the world, if that's even really going on. It could also control the world of deception with regards to space exploration. But notice, ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, again, 227. By the way, 227 is the 49th prime. Scottish also equals 49. The name of the place that this launched from, Satish Dhawan, 127, like Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is 127. So the Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota, probably mutilating the pronunciations, but notice the name of that location, 57, like Scottish, right? Like moon, blasting off for their moon mission. And then there's also, I mean, it's like, how many names do you need here? Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh state, excuse me, which equals 74, like Masonic, like a cult. And I also just want you to notice that they say it launched at 243. The United States of America just turned 243 years old. Give you another good 243. Good one to remember here, if I could type. Central Intelligence Agency's 243. And space program is military, CIA is military, CIA behind much of the mind control of the population, and that's absolutely what these space programs have to do with. Making the people worship government, think their taxes are being spent on amazing things. But again and again, just the same old Masonic encoding. And by the way, again, if you haven't seen my video I just put out on the anniversary of the moon landing, definitely go back and check that out. And if you watch that movie First Man, pay attention to how they put the number 147 up twice in the first 11 minutes of the film. Again, outer space is 147, conspiracies 147, spaceships 147, Freemason 147, man on the moon 147, and a whole lot more. But what else did I want to say here about this Vikram thing? So they write that this moon mission rocket weighs 3.8 tons. Remember, moon equals 38 in Hebrew. It has 13 payloads, like the moon has 13 cycles. It's going to travel about 62 miles above the moon's surface. Mason is 62, by the way. The lander is named Vikram. The object that's supposed to land on the moon, Vikram. Look at Vikram. 74 like Masonic, 29 like Masonic, 43 like Masonic. Perfect. And recent years covered this I guess it's been a while now. This was actually 2014 I covered this story, but back then India had their $74 million Mars mission. Cost less than the Gravity movie. Something tells me they're both movies. So, and also keep in mind, this came on the last day of Cancer, July 22nd. Of course, the moon is ruled by Cancer. Cancer equals 44 like space like Armstrong. And for one other story today, we had a CEO come out and say that, Donald Trump's racism is something else, and he's not standing for freedom. But of course, there's a reason we're hearing about this today. Headlines emphasized face of racism and exclusion. Those were the CEO's words. Notice that phrase sums to 138 like Donald Trump. Also sums to 105 like Siemens. He's the CEO of Siemens. Wonder who put this nice phrase together for him. Perfect numbers. Masonry 105. And with regards to a CEO calling out Trump, no CEOs 58 like Freemasonry. Again, Donald Trump, the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election. He announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. He hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day. And then today has the 68 and 48 date numerology. Don't forget this about Donald Trump's name. Donald Trump's 48. If you do his middle initial like how he does his books, Donald J. Trump's 68. And you do his full name, Donald John Trump's also 68. Of course, he's the apprentice, another 68. So a good day for Donald Trump to be called out, labeled as the face of racism and exclusion. And don't forget that this whole thing began July 14th, 14/7, like 147. Again, there's 147 windows on the White House, not by accident. U.S. President's 147. President of the United States is 147. I'll save the story about Tom Brady's cliff diving for another day. We'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Be sure to read the book if you haven't already. This knowledge is essential for every English-speaking person. Till next time, Truth Seeker.